All right, let's talk about one of the most misunderstood ideas in user experience, affordances. Ever looked at a super clean, modern app and just had no idea what to do? Well, we're going to get to the bottom of why that happens, and it's not what you might think.
So let me just ask you this right off the bat. When I say the word affordance, what's the first thing that actually pops into your head?
Does your brain immediately jump to a button with a little shadow? You know, that bit of depth that just kind of screams, hey, I'm a button, you can press me.
Or maybe you think of a hover state, that little visual handshake when you move your mouse over something and it changes color or bumps up in size, telling you, yep, this is interactive. Or maybe it's just that general vibe, right? That gut feeling that something, well, that it just looks clickable. You just know you're supposed to do something with it.
Look, if any of that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. But, and this is the whole point of our conversation today, that definition is incomplete. And honestly, this little misunderstanding is the real reason why so many beautiful minimalist designs can feel so darn confusing.
And this gets us right to the heart of the matter. It's this constant battle between how something looks, the styling, and how we actually perceive it. So let's get this out of the way right now. Affordance is not decoration. A lot of designers fall into this trap thinking, oh, I'll just add a drop shadow, or let's make this animate a bit. But that's just window dressing if it doesn't actually communicate what the thing does. A perfect example of this is the infamous ghost button. You know the ones I'm talking about. Super minimal, just a thin little outline. They look clean, they look modern for sure, but when you put them up against a good old-fashioned solid button, they just don't communicate click me nearly as well. Just picture it. A user lands on a page for the very first time. They see that ghost button. Is their first instinct to click it? Or do their eyes kind of dart around the page, looking for something that feels more real? That tiny pause, that right there is the telltale sign of a weak affordance. And it all boils down to the difference between two questions. Styling asks, does this look good? It's all about aesthetics. But affordance asks a way more important question. Does this thing explain itself? Because let's be real, you can have the most beautiful button in the world, but if nobody knows it's a button, it's failed. So, how can we spot this problem in the real world? Well, there's a really simple but super powerful tool for this. Let's call it the hesitation test. And it's exactly what it sounds like. If a user has to stop and think, even for a millisecond before they act, it means they're having to actively decode the interface. Their brain is literally pausing to ask, wait, is this a link? Can I click this? What's going to happen if I tap that? And that pause, that little bit of thinking, that's not nothing. In the design world, that's what we call cognitive load. It's the brain power you're forced to spend just trying to figure out how to use the thing in front of you. And almost every single time, it's caused by a weak affordance signal. Okay, so now that we're on the same page, let's just blow up a couple of common myths about this stuff, because these misunderstandings are absolutely everywhere. All right, myth number one. This is a big one. The idea that this whole concept of affordance is really just about buttons, just making sure your buttons look clickable. Nope, that is just plain wrong. If you think it's only about buttons, you are missing the entire forest for one single clickable tree. The truth is, affordance applies to everything. We're talking navigation, form fields, those little icons you're supposed to understand instantly, even gestures like swiping. And it's also about feedback. You ever click something and nothing happens? That lack of response is a huge affordance failure. It leaves you wondering, did that even work? Should I click it again? And that brings us to myth number two. The idea that, don't worry about it, usability testing will catch it. It's this belief that we can just design whatever and then let users tell us what's broken later. But that's getting it completely backwards. Think of it like this. Good affordance thinking is proactive. It prevents these basic problems from ever happening in the first place. Usability testing is reactive. It's great for finding issues, sure, but you shouldn't need a formal test to tell you that nobody can figure out how to click your Buy Now button. So what does this all mean for you? Well, this isn't just about learning a definition. It's really about developing a whole new lens for how you see the digital world. You know, a huge part of the problem is that so much of design culture today is just obsessed with trends. It's all about what's cool, what's minimalist, what looks good in a portfolio. And in that rush for aesthetic polish, we often forget to ask the simplest, most important question of all, Does this thing actually explain itself?
So here's a little challenge for you. Starting today, I want you to start looking for this stuff everywhere. When you're using an app, actively notice the weak spots. See a button that feels vague, an icon that makes you go, And most importantly, notice any time an interface makes you personally hesitate. Because at the end of the day, it all boils down to one simple, powerful truth. If the user hesitates, the affordance has failed. Clarity isn't just a bonus feature. It is the absolute foundation of a good user experience. So, what interfaces are you going to start looking at differently now?